Hello and welcome to Some Dude Shed. Today we're going to be playing True or False, as we do. 3 stories for you, and we're basically going to guess whether they're true or not. Let's begin.
Well, I'll start today's round of stories.
Alrighty, Mr. Red, let's see what you got for us.
So in
World War II. World War One. Vietnam.
for fuck's sake, it's nothing to do with the war.
Just checking.
In Armadillo, Texas. Right.
Armadillo?
Yes. A prison guard seen a cockroach with a cigarette strapped in his back.
Right.
In its mouth? No, not its mouth. It's too big.
No, strapped in its back.
Strapped, or like sellotape or something.
No, it was a little bit of cord.
Right, okay.
It's actually tied around its neck, and the cigarette was on its back. But he claims that the prisoners were sending cigarettes to 2 prisoners in sorry, let me just start this again. Right, so in 1938, a prison guard was attending to 2 prisoners in solitary confinement and found that they were smoking cigarettes. Since they're in solitary, this wasn't allowed, so he took them off them and, came back, and again they would be smoking. Every other day he would find them smoking, and obviously he had to take them every time. And he couldn't figure out for the life of him how they were getting these cigarettes.
Right.
Up their bums.
Until one day he seen a cockroach with a cigarette strapped to its back,
Right.
making its way to the solitary confinement, and couldn't believe it. And so he worked out how they were getting the cigarette, and he went to the newspaper and told them about this story, and they were obviously quite hesitant to believe him. But then he went and he got his own cockroach and demonstrated that the cockroach could be trained to respond to a whistle noise.
Really?
Yes. So essentially, the convicts on the main cell block were sending cigarettes to those in solitary.
So they didn't just work out that that's where cockroaches went. That they all lived like down under the solitary confinement area. They were literally training the cockroaches to come to a whistle.
He doesn't know how they were getting the cockroaches to come to him. He trained them with a whistle, but he doesn't know how the convicts were doing it. It might have been a whistle, might have been some other method, or maybe that's just where the cockroaches happen to go for some reason. But I suppose whenever you're stuck in a cell all day, what else have you got to do? What else have you got to do? You
Train some cockroaches, smoke some cigarettes.
So yeah.
I'm often quite impressed with the ingenuity of some prison inmates. So,
and I just annoyed him that they were smoking cigarettes in solitary. Not allowed. This is back in the 30s as well, so I imagine solitary back then was just literally a room with a bucket in the corner.
Training cockroaches, perfectly okay.
Probably was, and not being allowed your cigarettes was probably massive, especially in the 30s when everybody smoked.
Yeah. Nicotine was seen as a health benefit as well.
So who were the ones sending the cigarettes?
I imagine
were they like gang members or something?
No, I just imagine it was prisoners on the main cell block.
Friends, and just
maybe.
I just saw because I mean, solitary confinement wasn't a permanent thing. You're just generally put in there if you're a bad boy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But you still want a cigarette.
Well, yeah.
And then the prison guard seen the cockroach with a cigarette in his back, and it's like, no way. Told him his newspaper, and then to convince him, he went and trained his own cockroach to respond to a whistle and put a cigarette on its back. And it's not completely unbelievable because a cockroach can lift to 300 to about 300 to 900 times its own weight.
Oh no, it's not a matter of strength; it's a matter of direction. You got to catch the cockroach, somehow get it to stay still enough so you can tie a cigarette to it.
I don't imagine that being that overly difficult.
They're quite wriggly animals. Move around a lot.
And if you hold it in the back, though,
it would be more tying it to the cockroach and not killing the cockroach. I thought would be the difficult part.
I think they're quite hard, aren't they? They're like mini eggs, quite robust.
They were tying it around its neck. Cigarette was on its back, but the bit of cord was around its neck. So you pull it too tight, its head will just come off.
It wouldn't be very good at following commands if its head came off.
No, but he got it to respond to a whistle. I don't know how the prison inmates got it to come to them, should I say.
I don't know.
I saw this really freaky experiment on YouTube. This guy had grafted wires onto a cockroach's brain.
I've seen that as well.
He made a remote control cockroach. Basically, like you would push a button, remote control,
make it turn left
and
or right.
Make it turn left or right. Yeah, mental.
So, true or false? Prisoners were using a cockroach to smuggle cigarettes to solitary confinement.
It could go either way.
It sounds like a lot of effort. I know cigarettes are wonderful and everything. Well, in the 30s they were. And they were literally a cure for everything, including cancer. But it seems like a lot of work to somehow figure out a plan to get cigarettes just in case. Look, guys, just in case I go into solitary confinement, I've got this system with these cockroaches. I know where they go. They go under the.
They also had a wee matchstick along with the cigarettes so you can light up.
Oh, of course. I had to light the cigarettes as well.
Wow.
This is too silly. I'm gonna say false on this one. There's no way you can get a cockroach to do what you want it to do.
I just pictured an inmate just striking and just lighting up the cigarette with the cockroach still attached.
No, using the cockroach as a striker.
Strikes the match.
Are we saying false?
I'm gonna say false on this.
I'll say true.
And your basis for believing that a cockroach can deliver cigarettes?
Because you said false.
Okay.
I want to, I don't know. I mean, animals could be trained to do all sorts of shit, and I don't know. Yeah, screw it. Sure. True.
True. So you're going true, you're going false. It's true.
No way.
Jesus.
Well, it's true that there is an article of a guard demonstrating. This is from a newspaper article back in 1938. A guard had observed this, and he did demonstrate with his own cockroach that it could be trained to go a certain direction with a payload.
That's incredible. I don't know what to say. I'm amazed. It's almost as amazing as a fish learning to drive
There's also a little photo of it.
a vehicle. There it is. Brilliant.
Wow. Brilliant. There you go.
Well, moving on then. I suppose time for my story. So my story is all about industrial action, workers' rights, everything, all the way back in 1159 BC.
Okay.
So, this is in the world.
They had rights back then?
Well,
The bastion of workers' rights.
They were about to get them. Hold on. So this is in the reign of Ramesses III, and the story basically starts in 1159 BC. Now this basically happens in Set Ma'at, I think. I'm just going to call it the workers' village. So it is the workers' village that was near, very close or inside in Thebes, which is like the city of kings right then.
Where's Thebes?
Thebes, in Egypt somewhere.
It almost sounds like Thede.
Being ancient Egypt, probably somewhere near the river.
It almost sounds like Thede, the capital in Naboo.
That's over my head. Don't know in that much detail. So yeah, so the way things worked back then was that workers were paid in grain. They weren't actually paid in money. I think money had been invented, but I'm not sure if it was in Egypt at the time because they paid their workers in grain. Now these workers weren't slaves or anything like that. These were skilled workers. So these were the people who carved the statues. These were the people who were scribes, who were artists, things like that. They were quite well paid. Were supposed to be, because basically there was one time when they were preparing for Ramesses' Jubilee, right? In a few years' time, there's going to be a big celebration. There's a special Jubilee. It's 30 years on the throne, which was quite amazing. So they were preparing for that, but the workers weren't paid for a month, and then after another month they weren't paid again. They were kept on having these delayed payments, and because they were paid in grain, they were getting hungry. So so what they did is they put down their tools and they marched into Thebes, chanting something Egyptian, but basically translated to "We are hungry," and staged a sit-in in the pharaoh's temple, so the temple of Ramesses III himself.
So you're saying that they stormed the capital?
They basically stormed the most important temple.
Was this on January the 6th?
January the 6th in Egypt.
Well, all I've got is a year, guys. So yeah, all the officials, right? They were really confused. They didn't know what to do because this had never happened before. So they had all these workers were sitting in the temple, just basically being a nuisance and not working. They negotiated with them and found out that they didn't have their grain, or they were saying they were hungry. So they gave them some pastries and hoped they would go away and get back to work.
Right.
So they did for the rest of the day, but then they came back again the next day because they still haven't been paid properly. So the high priests negotiated with them and eventually paid them what they were owed. But then it went on for another month and they weren't paid again. So they took matters into their own hands and raided the grain stores themselves. So basically, to seize their payment. They got the chief city guard. I guess you could say would be like the chief of police. They got some names, which are great fun to pronounce. So this guy is called Montomes. He was called to deal with the problem. He spoke with the workers for a moment, and then he basically gave up. I think he sided with them and just decided, okay, right, fine, you're not getting paid. So they didn't get anything from the police. So the high priest came along, negotiated, and paid them again eventually. But then their next paycheck was delayed again. So then things started getting serious. So they decided to block the road. They blocked the road between Thebes and the Valley of the Kings, and then they ended up sending soldiers to intervene to get them to get back to work. But there was a stalemate when one of the workers threatened to break one of the holy monuments. I guess he was like what I would imagine is he was like a stone carver or something, and he had a hammer and a chisel, and he was just about to knock off, I don't know, Khufu's head or something.
Mm.
And then the officials gave in and agreed to pay them again. And basically for 3 years, these people weren't paid on time, and they kept on having strikes. So 3 years there were strikes and everything.
Right.
But they did actually manage to get all the work done over 3 years, and they had a lovely celebration when the Jubilee came around.
They weren't better by the time the Jubilee came around.
Well, they probably were quite upset about the whole not being paid on time thing, but I don't know. But there you go. Strike action in ancient Egypt.
Yeah, well, I mean, uprisings have always happened in any civilization, I think, over the years, so it's not that far out of reality that would happen.
It wasn't really an uprising, like a revolution. It was just...
Oh, no, not in the revolutionary sense, but just in, like, we're pissed off sense.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know much about ancient Egypt's societal structure. Whenever, they get paid with grain, but
Yes.
is this kind of like, was there a bit of a feudal system going on? Was there a lord and a bunch of plebeians, or... because the plebeians had to step out of line, Sean Connery would have been there with the open hand of discipline.
I'm not an expert myself, but ancient Egypt operated like a theocracy. And that was what I did say, that the high priests were the ones that negotiated with them.
Yeah.
So they would be the officials. So you'd have the pharaoh, who was basically a god on earth.
Yes.
And high priests would have been his royal court. So they would have negotiated with the high priest. They would have been the lords of the land, so to speak.
Yes. Oh, well, no, the high priest negotiates on behalf of the pharaoh, but who represents the workers?
I don't know, one of the workers, I guess.
Just one of the workers. Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's...
I think it's just they all collectively just...
There is I think...
It's hard to have a conversation with
the first negotiation is mentioned that a scribe is the one that does the negotiating.
Right.
So it could have been him for the rest of it as well.
So basically there was continuous strikes because they weren't getting paid on time?
Yeah, basically.
What was the reason they weren't getting paid on time?
Yes.
Well, the reason they weren't getting paid on time was because of, supposedly, it's not recorded because the royal...
Grainflation?
Grainflation. The royal records, which is what's on all the walls in ancient Egypt, they don't record embarrassments. And the scribe's notes, which this story comes from, don't include what happened before. But what people think happened is that this was about 20 years after the Sea Peoples came along, which you'll remember as like the villains from the end of the Bronze Age. There was basically a series of wars and battles with the Sea Peoples and Egypt. Egypt came out on top, but it was very expensive.
Did the Sea Peoples not find Rome?
I don't know about that. I think Rome was a Greek colony originally.
Did they find the Byzantine Empire?
I don't think anyone ever found out what happened to the Sea Peoples or where they came from. It's a bit of quite an anonymous group.
Their city of Atlantis
So-
sunk.
If they don't record embarrassments, how do you know about this?
Because this wasn't recorded by the king. This was recorded by a scribe, or the scribe that did the negotiating. They
Did
found
he put it on a stone?
they didn't. Don't
He put it on his blog,
It doesn't say what he wrote it on, but they found it in the workers' village.
Twitter.
When they were excavating the workers' village, they found this guy's records, and they found this the story about.
I'm just trying to
scribes.
remember if Papyrus survives this long.
I don't know. I don't know what this was recorded on. Sorry, I don't have that. I don't know if it was recorded on paper, papyrus, or fabric, or stone. I don't know. Sorry.
Well, hold on. A worker being able to write and read as well is quite.
Oh yeah, these were highly paid workers. They were the artisans, the stonemasons, the scribes, the painters.
But they were paid in grain.
They were early days, early economy.
And also as well, like surely to go against the pharaoh would be to go against divinity. Like sure, like if they weren't paid on time, then surely it was the will of the gods that they weren't paid on time, or were they kind of like above the whole?
Well, you see, the will of the gods will only go so far, but if the gods miss your paycheck, you're going to be annoyed.
I think that's sort of what maybe.
Sorry, why did they keep missing the payments?
It's not really shown because it's not really said because every time they protested or struck, they negotiated with the high priest, and they were always able to find the payment. I'm guessing
So you're
either
just
there was a fool in the administration team,
Mhm.
or someone was trying to be very greedy and try and sneak stuff.
That you're holding up work for your god,
Yes,
which is not a good thing.
well, obviously there was an atheist in the administration team.
Down with pyramids.
They didn't hire an accountant. I don't know. It's the whole like rebellion against the pharaoh. It's kind of a bit. I'm sort of 50-50 on it.
So they found their whatever it was written on, recorded by one of the workers.
Yes, it was a scribe.
Right.
It got his name here. His name was Amenacht. I think.
I think you're gonna say Scriblius Biblius or something.
What about?
He wasn't a Roman.
What was the name of the town?
The name of the town is the workers' village. Was called Setmaat. It's got like MA''AT, so Setmaat. So let's call it the workers' village. These days, it's got a more modern Egyptian name of Deir el Medina.
Set. That's Set. Was Set not like a name of?
I think Set was
the
a god.
pharaoh?
Yeah,
A god.
that was near Thebes. Thebes is a big Egyptian city.
Fuck, I'll say true.
I think true.
Because it's not that far. Or it's not like
It doesn't seem unreasonable.
Yeah, because it's like it's something that could have happened. So, if you had to say they walked into the temple and started waving their willies around and they were paid on time, like
Going
then-
woo.
yeah, pretty much. Then I would have. You know what I mean? Like it's all within the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I'll say true. Sounds
So what's
plausible.
what's the true or false line?
Basically, did the ancient Egyptian workers strike because of backdated pay?
Sure. Yeah.
Seems plausible, yeah.
Well, they did.
There you
It's
go.
actually all true. Even the part about the chief of police negotiating with them, telling them go home, then he gives up, and then he goes home. that's pretty much. I mean, it's all real. It's all real, and it all came from a scribe who was one of the workers on the strike.
Well, if you're paid in grain and you're not getting paid, you're not eating. So
Yeah, no,
you
you're
can
right.
be hunger's
Yeah, if you're
more
hungry,
powerful.
you're gonna.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly right. Hunger is a great motivator to rebel. So, Mr. Black, what's your story?
I'm going to apologize in advance for how shit this is.
It must be false then. Okay.
It rained fish in Texas last week.
Last week,
Yeah.
right?
Let me just look up the definition of rain here a second.
It fell from the sky.
Rain definition: condensation, moisture of the atmosphere falling visibly in separate drops.
So a bunch of separate fish fell from the sky.
Okay, so
Were they condensed moisture? Sorry,
Well, rain isn't. It could rain anything.
the condensed moisture of the atmosphere falling visibly in separate drops.
well, anyway, the point is, we know what he's
It
trying
can
to
rain.
say. There were
it can
fish
ra- it
falling
can-
from the sky.
It can rain golf balls from the sky if you dropped a shitload of golf balls, and it could rain anything. Dicks.
Rain is a liquid water in the form
If
of
a
droplets.
bunch of dicks fell from the sky, it's raining dicks. You know what I mean?
Rain is liquid water in the form of droplets.
Yes, that's rain, the water rain, but I'm talking about like rain of anything.
So, and
It's raining
I think
man
that's
in the
spelled.
song.
so
It's like
how,
the rain
how
of
do
Paris.
fish rain from the sky?
Right.
Were they condensed in moisture?
In Texarkana, East Texas, On the 30th of December 2021, the citizens of Texarkana were expecting rain. However, what the weather failed to mention was that it was to be raining with a chance of mackerel.
Okay.
The citizens woke up to find fish and other small marine animals littered all over the streets. This resulted in a mix of confusion, anger, fear of the oncoming apocalypse for many members of the public. To help ease panic, the city of Texarkana posted a response on their own Facebook account. 2021 is pulling out all the tricks, including raining fish in Texarkana today. And no,
Wait. 2021? You said this was last week. We go back a week. We're well above 2021. In 2022. We're into the new year of hell.
30th of December.
That was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I got
He's lost track of time.
Yeah, I misread the title.
It's not. It may feel like it, but it's not 2019 anymore.
It rained fish in Texas on the 30th of December, 2021. So that's a true or false thing. This iPad doing my head. 2021 is pulling out all the tricks, including raining fish in Texarkana today. And no, this isn't a joke. While it's uncommon, it happens. As evidenced in several places in Texarkana today. So, show us your fishy pics, and please, for the sake of everyone, let's tiptoe into 2022 as quietly as possible. Just a few examples here. Animal rain is said to be a phenomenon that occurs when small water animals like frogs, crabs, and small fish are swept up in water spouts, or drafts that occur on the surface of the earth. There have been instances in the past of this phenomenon. During World War II, Joe Alpin from Yorkshire was hailed on by millions of small 3-centimeter frogs that lasted for just over an hour.
Jesus, that's one hell of a massacre.
Yep.
That's a lot of frogs.
Sylvia Mode from Sultan experienced raining frogs in the hundreds in a small 45 square meter area. In 1947, Anthony Roy from Marksmill began being pelted by fish from the sky. In Southampton, Roland Moody and his neighbours watched a rain of beans, peas, mustard seeds, and corn raining down on people relentlessly for 2 days in a row. Funny enough, it's never actually rained cats and dogs.
So they're too big, surely.
Yeah, too big. So, true or false? It rained
Right, okay, so...
on that day in Texas.
It almost just sounds like a news article, so I'm going to say yes. True.
So these fish are small, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so about as big as your finger.
Yeah, they're probably about that. You
Right.
can't see it in the podcast, but you'll.
Yeah, as long as an index finger, roughly.
Aye, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how does it get picked up again by the cloud? Because I can't imagine that water vapor evaporating from the surface of a river or the sea would be enough power to lift a small animal.
Would it be anything to do with it?
Water
hurricane?
spouts or updrafts.
A very strong wind.
Yeah, strong winds, so it would probably suck them up from the water and then it carried them into the clouds, and then.
I'm going to say true. It sounded like a news article the way you read it.
I think I might
Or wrote it, or didn't write it.
I might have heard of this phenomenon before. I'm not sure, or it might have been a cartoon. I'm not sure. I'll say true. Sure.
You're both actually saying it's fucking true that it rained fish.
It's just the way you read it.
We've been doing this show for a long time now, Mr. Black.
And you believe there's a place called Texarkana?
Yeah,
That's America. There's a place called My Anus.
Okay. My anus.
Sure, if you go to England, you get some weird Italian names like penis.
There's Peniston.
Peniston. Yeah.
Peniston. There's Shillington.
Shit.
That's a good one. But
My favorite's a mountain in Germany called Wank. It's actually called Wank.
Really?
Wank Mountain, yeah.
There you go.
It's on Wikipedia.
So there you go. The name's not that extraordinary.
There's yeah. I do quite like My Anus in America because it just fits into jokes so well. I heard it's quite hot in My Anus.
It's
Very
trip to
damp.
Miami.
Very damp in my anus.
Take a trip to Miami.
Gonna go for a ride down
After
to my anus.
every year trucker, I'm taking my load to Miami.
Here, there's an oil leak in my anus.
An oil leak.
Yep.
There's a gas rupture coming from Miami.
Gas leak. If you are from my anus, we apologize.
We don't
cause
really.
any offense.
You know where you live.
You know where you live.
know where you live.
You could be the butt of every joke.
So true or false? Rain fish.
True.
Sure, why not? True.
Yeah, true. Happened.
Wow.
If you go into Texarkana, like city of Texarkana, Texas, on Facebook, on the 30th of December, you'll actually see the post.
Just gonna Google it now because I have heard of this phenomenon before, I think, but it's so weird to imagine happening.
Yeah, just type in Texarkana raining fish.
Oh my god, there's a video. Yeah, they're already on the ground. I was hoping to see the actual fish, really.
Yeah, I think the most likely scenario is just like a tornado or something sweeps them up, and then they're carried along with the cloud.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
actually amazed though that they stay in the cloud.
The biggest thing I think you maybe think of is like a hurricane would be the thing, because they all come off the water.
Yeah.
You're right. It's just so weird how the wind can just keep them in the air.
But is it the wind though, or is it? Well, I'm just picturing a bloody fish swimming in a cloud, but obviously it's not dense enough to.
As crazy as that sounds, I don't think that's possible.
Is it
I think
something?
the wind's just
Must be like an air current in the cloud then, or something, or
Must be something. I don't know.
something like that.
yeah. There you go, raining fish.
It's quite a ridiculous phenomenon.
Yeah, it's and it came across. I mean, like it's not obviously exclusive to animals. It came across the fact that people are being pelted with corn and beans. So
Oh, there's
Do you remember the film The Day After Tomorrow?
yeah,
yeah.
Where
That's
they have like the massive
I think that's the one where things get pretty cold, isn't it?
no, but they have the massive hailstorms one bit.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're golf ball or baseball sized. I was like, that's not really that much of a problem because there's been basketball sized hailstorms in the past.
yeah.
I do wonder how that manages to stay in the air
Well,
before
obviously
it
it
falls.
doesn't.
Well, no, obviously
It
it
forms
doesn't.
instantly,
But
doesn't it? It crystallizes instantly.
yeah, like how quickly does it?
I think that phenomena is very strongly related to, correct me if I'm wrong in this, scientists, but I remember multiple times where I very speedily chill a bottle of Coke. I would stick it in the freezer and I would pull it out of the freezer maybe an hour later and it wouldn't be frozen, but I would then put it on the kitchen table. And I remember one time actually hitting it off the kitchen table with a little bit of force by accident. And then I started to just see the whole thing just turn into ice.
Whoa.
And there's times where it just happened where it's completely liquid, but then I would go tss, open the lid, and then you just see the ice forming up the bottle.
And just flash freeze.
Yeah, just flash freeze how normal. So I reckon that's probably what something similar happens in a hailstorm. I don't know what sets it off, but like
Have you got anything more to add, Mr. Red?
No.
there you go.
Well, guys, I'd say that's the end of the show. Kind of really car crashed into the ending now, haven't we? There's no flow to this at all.
No, that's the end of that chapter. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.